Aw, come on, man.
It's
Go for it, dude.
It's Friday! Friday! Friday!
It is, in fact, Friday here on Soccer's Morning Show, SDHAM. John, hear you there. And apparently the laptop has decided that it's not going to wake up this morning. So we're going to go ahead and continue to shut it down for like the fourth time already. And we'll see if it wants to behave by the time the show is over. John, hear you there. It's a weekend whip around Friday, free for all. Everything's on the table. Whatever you guys want to talk about, it's all there. Hour number 2, obviously, weekend whip around, patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. We'll break down everything from the weekend and look at Major League Soccer, look at Atlanta United, look at FC Dallas, look at all points in between and all of the matchups that are there, and we can run through all of that in hour number 2. If our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza, are not globetrotting or mentoring or benefiting humanity on the whole, hopefully we get the chance to catch up with them at 9:30 and go through the Friday free kick and see what's going on there. In between all of that stuff, we got a lot of news, and we can, I guess, we'll go ahead and use this moniker. Why not? Kevin De Bruyne not returning to Manchester City. Statement was released on social media. Pep Guardiola has come out with a statement on his own, and you were kind of wondering when this might happen, considering health issues and all of the things that have been going on with Kevin De Bruyne. Obviously, he's not happy with how his injuries have held him back. Announced he's leaving Manchester City at the end of the season. Contract runs out in the summer. And then it was disclosed he's not going to be extending his deal beyond this campaign. Writing on the 280-character app. Seeing this, you probably realize where this is heading, so I'll get straight to it and let you all know that these will be my final months as a Manchester City player. Nothing about this is easy to write. But as football players, we all know this day eventually comes. That day is here, and you deserve to hear it from me first. Telegraph had reported back in December, clubs in Saudi Arabia are likely to show interest. CFG want to keep him within their stable of clubs around the world, and such as his standing. So speaking in the pre-match presser ahead of the Manchester Derby, Pep Guardiola said it's a sad day, happy day for the fact that the pleasure I personally lived with him gave all of us with his he gave all of us with his humility, not humidity, John, humility, and his influence on our success in the last decade. That would have been impossible to imagine without him. When Vincent left, or Sergio left, or David Silva, it's a sad day. We still have 10 games, hopefully 11, that we can enjoy our fans, and he'll still get the love and recognition he deserves. I think I read today he's been involved in 280 goals and assists in the Premier League. You always have to be careful for respect for players in the last 20 or 30 years, but come on, there's no doubt he's one of the greatest for sure. His consistency, except for the last year when he had injury problems in important games and being there all the time. Signed in 2015 for £54.5 million. Regarded as one of the club's greatest players after winning 6 Premier League titles, 2 FA Cups, 5 League Cups, and the Champions League. Guardiola continued, his assists, his goals, his vision in the final third is so difficult to replace. Everyone can make actions, but over how many years and games is what makes him unique. His performance during this decade has been outstanding. We've won a lot of trophies, and he's been involved in every single one. He's part of the club. The club has said to do him, the door is open for the rest of his life. Whatever he wants to do, he's part of the family for the club. City said that they plan on delivering a fitting tribute and a farewell. 413 matches, 106 goals, 174 assists. So Kevin De Bruyne is ending his time at Manchester City as a player at the end of this year. So that is where, I guess, the earliest piece of news this morning involving Kevin De Bruyne. And no real surprise, his artistry is out there. I mean, his artistry is out there, up there, and ready to roll. And so it will be fun, intriguing, and we're all going to sit there and go, where is the next step in Kevin De Bruyne's career? That's going to be the biggest question going forward. So, morning, David. Morning, Ricky. Yes, 5 Stripes Friday and 404 Day. Yes. Well, you know what you could do, Abby? Abby's wondering what shirt to wear today. What you could wear, why don't you wear both? Start like up and through like middle of the afternoon and then change. Because I think it's supposed to be like in the mid 80s. So, knowing somebody like me, it'd end up something like, well, yeah, I'd probably end up having to wear both at some point anyway. So we'll see. We'll see what rolls there. But wear them both. Why not? 5 Stripes Day, 404 Day. So that's your rundown for the morning. Once again, if we can catch up with our friends from Beyond Goals Mentoring, we will. We can whip around in hour number 2. Yesterday, Open Cup came up with their matchups in the next round. And now this is when we get into like the group stage deal, and it's like you've got to get out of your group, and then they get everything all squared away again. You have the draw and the studio and all those kinds of things. And so yesterday, you now know what the next go round is in a couple of weeks. Third round schedule: Crew 2 and Riverhounds. Silly me. Crew 2 and Riverhounds. That's at 6 o'clock at lower.com on the 15th. Lou City and Loudoun United. Charlotte Independence, North Carolina FC. So that was a USL Championship matchup. Then it was a League One matchup, and now they're in split leagues. And that's at Matthews. P-Hop and Rhode Island FC. That one's going to be a fun one. So that one will be fun. So we'll see what happens with that. Also on the board, Battery and Tormenta. That one doesn't scream or anything like that with rivalries. So Battery and Tormenta on the 15th. Union Omaha and San Antonio FC on the 15th. AV Alta Orange County at AV Alta. That one's going to be on the 15th. Tacoma Defiance and Oakland Roots. On the 16th, Detroit City and Westchester SC. That one's going to be at Keyworth. FC Naples and the Rowdies. That one's going to be in Naples. That one's going to be a fun one. Indy 11 and the Miami FC. Tulsa and Phoenix Rising. Switchbacks and One Knox. So One Knox, basically because there are too many teams in the southeastern United States that are doing well in Open Cup. Someone had to end up getting the short straw in this one, and it's One Knox. So One Knox gets to travel to Widener Field in beautiful downtown Colorado Springs, Colorado on the 16th. New Mexico United, El Paso Locomotive. Go ahead, line up a derby. Why not? Sacramento and El Farolito. That one's going to be a fun one for different reasons. And then you really want to talk about a short straw. Red Wolves, after knocking off Chattanooga FC, they have to travel to Vegas Lights and go play at Cashman on the 16th. So that's your rundown of the third round. Crew 2 Pittsburgh, Lou City Loudoun, Charlotte Independence, North Carolina FC. That's what we need, Dean Linke. P-Hop, Rhode Island FC, Battery and Tormenta, Union Omaha and San Antonio, AV Alta Orange County, Tacoma Defiance out of Next Pro, and Oakland Roots. That's at Starfire. Detroit City, Westchester, Naples, Tampa Bay, Indy 11, the Miami FC, Tulsa Phoenix, Switchbacks, One Knox, New Mexico United, El Paso, Sacramento Republic, El Farolito, and Vegas Lights in Chattanooga. Red Wolves. So that's your rundown in Open Cup. That is on the 15th and the 16th. All of them are going to be on Paramount Plus in some manner, way, shape, form, or fashion. Handful of them are going to be on Golazo Network. Another handful of them, including Sacramento and El Farolito, are going to be on CBS Sports Network. So that's the rundown there. Everything's on Paramount Plus. CBS Sports Network gets Lou City and Loudoun. Golazo gets P-Hop and Rhode Island FC. Golazo late gets AV Alta Orange County. Then on the 16th, Naples and Rowdies is on Golazo. New Mexico United and El Paso is on Golazo. Sacramento Republic, El Farolito is on CBS Sports Network. So that's your Open Cup matchups for the next round. Should be fun. Well, Ricky, you need to get to if Ricky needs to get to a brewery at some point today, you know what you could do? If you are, sir, in fact, a fanatico, you could join and be a fanatico here at SDH. And then if you joined and were a fanatico, you could check the list of those establishments and those kinds of establishments. And you could see if there was a discount that was tied to any of those particular establishments that is tied to being a fanatico. How do you become a fanatico, you may ask? Well, here's what you do. $10 a year. $10 a year. And what you can do for what do you do for $10? Seriously, what do you do for $10? Abby, I know, is a fanatico, and I know that we have some fanaticos, but this is where I sit there and I ask, why aren't you a fanatico? Get discounts all over basically North Georgia and Chateau Arenal in Costa Rica. Exclusive access to the group on the Chant app. To keep an eye on everything that we do here at SDH, you sign up, you go to group.chant.fan, group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. If I could spell the word join. And that's with 2 N's, so just disregard the last N. Group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. Group.chant.fan/soccerdownhere/join. With 1 N, not with 2. So that's what you do. You become a fanatico for $10 a year. You get a bunch of discounts. You get to hang out in our chant. Section, and you get all these discounts to all these cool places. And Ricky, you needed a brewery. I needed to talk about fanaticos. It seemed like a natural transition. So there you go. That was an easy one. All right. What else is going on this morning? I know that we've got to get into, and we got an update from our buddy Greg Garza. Greg is on a train, and if he can get inside Pearson Airport, we'll catch up with Greg and find out what's going on with everything involving our friends at Beyond Goals Mentoring, Messrs. Garza and Parkhurst. So that would be that would be fun if we ended up with Greg inside Pearson International Airport to discuss everything that's going on there. That would be pretty funny. But like I said, 10 o'clock, weekend whip around patent pending. That's when we catch up with Major League Soccer. That's when we get into everything else. All right, the other promos. Since Ricky went down the promo road, I'll go ahead and wrap up the other promos. I think he's at Pearson in Toronto because he sent us an email and he said he's on a train to the Toronto airport. And I'm guessing it's Pearson because if it's the one on the island, that'd be a heck of a train. If he's the one on the island that's right next to downtown, that's a heck of a train ride. But I think he's on TTC, and I think he's heading to Pearson. So that if he can get through security in time, he has said if he can get through security, he'll join us and we can catch up with him for a couple of seconds. So I think he's TTCing on the way to Pearson. So we'll find out what's going on in the life of Greg Garza, the globetrotter that is Greg Garza, and find out what's going on in the world of mentoring this time of year. Also, all the other promos. Once again, Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. And what you can do there is hit that QR code. See what I did? You hit that QR code, and you go to Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com, and you buy out the store. You help out our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Use the code SoccerDownHere15 when you check out. They, in turn, take 10%. Reinvested in the youth games, youth initiative, stuff that they think is cool. Brought to us by our friends at Kickoff Coffee and kickoffcoffeeco.com. Now, you can do that. You can go to our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. I just realized that I need that I'm kind of in the in-betweens myself. Abby was talking about it being 5 stripes and 404 day. Here in the studio, I'm kind of caught between temperatures. And I realized I need more soccer-based sweatshirts. Because I've got, you know that I have all the T-shirts and the jerseys, but I don't have a whole lot of soccer sweatshirts. I should have worn the SDH one today. But I'm kind of in between temperatures. And so I know that I need more sweatshirts. And so you can get a sweatshirt or a T-shirt over at our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. The Soccer is Just Better in Atlanta ones, black, red, SDH network logo here on the sleeve, Grady Baby logo on the right sleeve. Really comfortable stuff. The boss can't wear red of any kind, so she has stolen the black one, and it is a sweatshirt, T-shirt kind of a deal. And you get Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta, gold embossed on the front, and you get to help out middle school soccer programs attached to the Atlanta public school system by picking up the Soccer's Just Better in Atlanta gear from our friends at Grady Baby and Grady Baby Co. Also, Olive and York. And if you have a question about personalization, consult Abby, because you can get the Olive and York jersey and Kaiser Permanente on the front, thanks to them for everything that they do all the time here at SDH. And then what you get there is Kaiser Permanente on the front, floppy collar, very, very 80s. Soccer for Good on one sleeve, Beyond Goals Mentoring on the other sleeve, personalized on the back. You have your choice on the navy jersey to go either one of two ways. You can go white letters and numerals or lighter blue letters and numerals. Michael Parkhurst went white because he couldn't go lighter blue because he went to Wake Forest, and that'd be kind of like crossing the streams in the ACC. So go to Olive and York, pick up the SDH jerseys here for this year. Helps out our 2025 Soccer for Good campaign. And what you can do, once again, personalize it either in white or in a lighter blue on the back when it comes to all of your personalization and your jerseys and such. You can help out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation. Like I said, I got about 10 scarves left before I have to go make another order. I have to send one to Brooklyn. And if you have not helped out the Marshall Islands Soccer Federation, they've got about 6 weeks to close the 80% that they're missing on the Kickstarter campaign. They're at about 4,000 out of 20. And so if you are inclined, please help out our friends at the Marshall Islands so they can have that first ever competition there in August in Springdale, Arkansas at John Brown University with themselves, 11v11, Guam's, U.S. Virgin Islands, Turks and Caicos. They're trying to get everybody there for the week. So Kickstarter campaign, you can go to Kickstarter. You can help out the Marshall Islands folks however you wish, if that is something that you are inclined to do. And you can also pick up the scarves. You can buy everything else that comes from England. Player layer jerseys and everything else comes from England. Scarves come from us, the other side of this door. So you can help out with the Kickstarter project. You can help out picking up your Marshall Islands gear and pushing everything forward that way. And you can help out them with their particular project and help them grow their program from absolute zero. And it's been fun to be able to watch their program from absolute zero be the way that it is and help out in that way. So Marshall Islands, Grady Baby, Olive and York. You can also go to soccerdownhere.net and you can pick up the SDH gear. It's the new logo, plus some stuff that Jason has created from teams of the past that's there as well. So that new logo, where is it? There it is. I have to figure out where my wrist is. That new logo is up in the black and white designs. You can go to soccerdownhere.net. You can go to the shop, and you can pick up your SDH gear there across the board. Mugs, sweatshirts, the whole schmear. You can go ahead and pick that up right there at soccerdownhere.net. I'm trying to think. What else have I missed? Let's see. Fanaticos, Olive and York, Marshall Islands, Kickoff Coffee. I think that's all the promos at the moment. But once again, speaking of soccerdownhere.net, yesterday we had two match days going on both the channels on our Mixler app. So it was craziness involving Dutchtown and Trinity Christian. That was with Maddie and Jason. Then I was at Hebron Christian for the matchups with Toombs County making the long road trip, and they were coming north to take on Hebron Christian. Two good friends in Jeremy Moore, the head coach at Toombs, and Chad Griffin, the head coach for both programs. And they coach both programs at Hebron Christian. So Toombs County came north to take on Hebron Christian. And by the way, on the way home, they're going to go play Eatonton. I imagine, I don't know this for sure, they're going to play Putnam County in Eatonton today. I imagine that it was not going to be a long ride. It was going to be a long ride home and then pick up and then drive to Eatonton and drive back. I imagine that they're staying someplace tonight that they stayed someplace last night on their way to Eatonton today. I do not have independent confirmation of that, but it is one of those where you want to challenge yourself in the non-region schedule. Jeremy Moore wanted to do that, and so he paired up with Chad, who he knows from his time at Calvary Day on the coast. And so spring break for Toombs County, they're like, yeah, we want to keep sharp. You want to play? Okay, fine. And so obviously traffic held Toombs County up a little bit. I think the match started a whole 5 minutes late yesterday, but we had Toombs County and Hebron Christian on the deuce, and we had Dutchtown and Trinity Christian on the mothership. Today, it is Marist and Pius at the Marist School, 5:30 and 7:30. Maddie and I will have the calls for you on that one. I'll be calling the girls' match, and Maddie will be calling the boys' match at Stadler Field on the campus of the Marist School. So it'll be it's our first visit to Marist. So that's going to be really cool. And thanks to Derek Wall and the coaching staff for letting us come by and hang out there this afternoon. And thanks to both Pius and Marist for the intel and all of the info getting us ready for the matches tonight. Remember, we had the Marist girls on earlier this week in their non-region action against Walton. It was a learning experience for them from that. And so it'll be really cool to catch up with the Marist School, Marist and Pius, a great rivalry in all sports here in the city of Atlanta. And that will be tonight, 5:30 and 7:30. Remember, tomorrow, I guess we're all going to be at Mercedes-Benz for Atlanta United and FC Dallas. Then on Sunday here on the network, once again, action at the Fraction, Atlanta United 2, taking on Inter Miami CF2. That's at 7:30, 7:33 kick, 7 o'clock pregame here on Soccer Down Here and our Mixler app, and you get to follow along there. Remember, Messi and Friends, too, they played in Open Cup early in the week. They lost to the Miami FC. So how do they look coming out of the weekend, playing in the midweek, and then having to travel up here to Atlanta to take on Atlanta United 2? We'll find out with Atlanta United 2 and Messi and Friends 2. That is Sunday action at the Fraction, 7 o'clock pregame, 7:33 kick on the network. Jason will have the call for you there, and I will roll you through pregame, and Maddie will be there as well with Jason and with all of us at SDH. Then on Monday, see, now I'm on a roll with the schedule. I've got the schedule figured out in my head. All right, so Monday, it is one match, girls match at Coahulla Creek. Fort Payne crosses over into the Eastern time zone to take on Coahulla Creek. I think it's a 6 o'clock kick. That'll be at soccerdownhere.mixler.com. Then it is on Tuesday, Drew Dickinson will have West Forsyth and River Ridge. River Ridge boys ranked nationally. West Forsyth's girls ranked nationally, number 2 or number 3, depending on the poll that you pay attention to. So we'll have the West Forsyth River Ridge doubleheader. That's on Tuesday. Wednesday, the 9th, Jason will come in and host SDHAM because I am out of pocket. I'm in a place where they don't allow cell phones, not even to take pictures. So it'll be Jason hosting. Soccer's in Session, by the way, will be Tuesday at noon. And so we'll orchestrate the guests for that there. So Wednesday, Jason's hosting SDH. It's a return to the past, so back to the future. And then that sets us up for Thursday, and that will be our first remote broadcast of the year, Atlanta United 2 at Philadelphia Union 2. And so we'll have that for you coming up pregame. And then it is kick with Atlanta United 2 and Philadelphia Union 2 on the network. That is, I think, a 7:33 kick as well. I think pregame is at like 7:15. And then next Friday, we've got a game circled as the regular season's winding down in the state of Georgia when it comes to high school soccer. But we're going to be pretty busy from one end of this week to the end of next week. Matchups tonight. Everybody's at Mercedes-Benz, including hopefully a lot of you, on Saturday. Sunday, it's the twos. Monday, it's high school. Tuesday, it's a high school doubleheader. Wednesday, it's an off day. Thursday, I mean, we do AM, but we're not doing any live matches. Thursday, twos on the road. Next Friday, high school matchup to be determined. So that's what we're up to coming up here at SDH in the next week. So yeah, we're going to be pretty busy. We're going to be pretty busy. David's asking if you could on a train or could you in the rain. Nothing like Dr. Seuss at 9:30 in the morning on a Friday. Abby has decided the 404 shirt. There you go. Half and half. AO 404 shirt for the first half of the day, then the 404 kit later. Morning, Alex. Morning, Jordan. So Jordan's 404. Wow. So, all right. So here's the deal. We're going to talk Open Cup first and foremost with our Mogullin training coming up in a second. So we're going to pull back the curtain and ask about how these things come together sometimes. We're going to bring in Michael Parkhurst and find out first and foremost, how was vacation, sir?
Hey, John.
Yeah.
Vacation was
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
We made it there
Yeah.
and back. I will say it was, of course, not without its little complications, but we made it. You know, you have to adjust sometimes, and that's the name of the game. But the time we spent in South Carolina was great. We had good weather. The team did well enough in some of the games that my daughter, as a freshman, got to play a little bit here and there. So that was great. And yeah, the rest of us enjoyed the beach here and there. Didn't get in the water; it was freezing. But
did you take your club? Did you take your clubs?
I did not take the clubs. No room in the car for such things, John.
Not even on the luggage rack on the top, and you sit there and you cover it with a tarp or something, and people sit there and go, well, he's repairing a house, obviously.
The wife wanted to take the tarp on top, and I was like, no, we can stuff it all in the car. I don't want to drive with that thing on top. So we crammed it, and we made it. So, yes, I had to sacrifice the clubs. So I still have not yet swung a club. In 2025, it's depressing,
man.
but we'll get there.
All right. So you mentioned adventures in travel. So go ahead and lay them all out. Get them off your chest. I don't want you to just hold it within. I want you to cleanse from the adventures of travel.
Yeah. Well, we missed an opportunity to stop by Wake Forest for a few hours. We planned on breaking up our trip and stopping at Wake for a while, but 2 out of the 4 of us had the stomach bug overnight into the morning of travel day.
Oh no. So
we canceled all plans and drove straight home, and thankfully we had no episodes in the car. So that's a big positive there.
Yeah. You see, episodes in the car would be bad. Mm-hmm. Because it literally, and you don't know if it's a false alarm or not. It's like, pull over, stop. I'm going to do something. And
we had a couple of those.
Oh, you had a couple of false starts?
We had a couple of false alarms, but I'd rather pull over and have a false alarm than not pull over and have a real alarm.
Yes, that is always good. So was Deacon happy to see you when you got home?
Oh, Deacon made the trip, John.
Oh, no.
Deacon made the trip. As terrified as she was in the car for all 11 hours of it.
Really? Deacon's terrified of the car?
Yeah, doesn't like it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we didn't do well enough taking her out and about as a puppy, apparently. So she doesn't like the car, but she'd rather be with us in the car than not with us. So
correct. Yes, that is absolutely true. I can.
She's still sleeping things off, John.
Yeah. Oh wow! I just have this vision of Deacon being out past curfew when you're on the beach, and it's like the door opens at like 1:30 in the morning. Deacon's trying to sneak in. You're looking out, and Deacon's like, "Oh, I thought you were asleep." Well, I was till you opened the door.
Exactly.
I just have this vision of Deacon partying on the road with the family Parkhurst.
She was loving it. Came to all of our dinners. Thankfully, it's very dog friendly down there. Beaches, restaurants, and everything. So, yeah, she got to experience everything.
And she's still crashed out, as she should, because the rowdy man is absolutely crashed out right down here underneath the table. Oh, he's like literally when the boss leaves and I'm getting ready for the show every morning, he'll come down, he'll be on whatever level he's on, and he wants to make sure that he is in his poofy bed right down here, and he's crashed out, and he's making sure that he's guarding everything, and even with his eyes closed.
As he should.
Let's see. So Greg was on his way to Pearson on a train, and how did that conversation go? Yo, dude, I don't think I'm going to make it. Can you sub for me?
I saw the email, and I texted him. I was like, dude, don't worry about it. I can jump on.
Okay. All right. I didn't know if this was like a oh my God, we're going to do a quick tag it kind of a thing.
No, I was like, no stress. No stress.
All right. So then my first question has to do with detaching and taking it easy. When it comes to your mentees and parents and such, do they find it easy to unplug because they need the time to unplug, or because they're so wired into wanting to be successful, you have all of these type A's that you kind of have to talk away from being on the field and being attached to the sport all the time?
Yeah, I think the higher level athletes and families definitely have a little bit more of a challenge sometimes unplugging. The fear of getting behind or missing a practice or missing a game or just not working out for a few days really can get to people. So I definitely see that, especially the higher up you go. There's some obviously that have no problem taking breaks and understand it and see it and everything. But yeah, there's definitely some that we work with where we have to encourage things and let them know, hey, it's going to be all right. I played seasonally when I was growing up, right? I mean, I kicked the ball around the house constantly and all the time, but as far as team structured stuff, yeah, seasonally. So you'll be just fine.
I just have this vision of you kicking the ball around the house off season and smashing garage doors and going up against, like we have the hockey players that are always in the basement and they're always sitting there and shooting pucks and hitting posts and the steel poles that are in the basement. How did you deal with that indoors off season?
Yeah, well, we did play a fair share of indoor soccer. So, I guess there was more than just, 1 or 2 seasons. There was a lot of indoor soccer, but inside my own house,
yeah,
there is a step from the porch into the actual house. The porch is covered, but a step into the actual house. And that step got abused with a size 3 soccer ball. And thankfully, my parents never gave me a hard time about hearing a constant thud, 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 thud. My aunt was a different story. Anytime she was over, it was like, can you stop kicking the ball?
And you're like, no.
Yeah. What else am I supposed to do?
It's like, well, do you want me to come in there and hang out with you?
I've thought about it, John, and next time I'm home, I'm going to try and take like a picture and video of these 2 areas right up my house that I put in hours and hours and hours of kicking a soccer ball against, so that to give other people just a vision of what it is. And, kids these days think they need to have, this net, that net, this bounce back, I have to be at practice. Oh, there's every excuse in the book as to what they need in order to get better. And I had a step and a concrete little wall underneath the siding of my house, and that was it. And it was just enough for me.
Back in my day.
Exactly.
One of those kind of arguments.
Start the video with that quote.
Back in my day, I walked uphill in the snow both ways to play 90 minutes of outdoor soccer in the middle of February. I just have that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I know you walked uphill both ways, going to and from. When and I still want to stick to the detachment idea and what it's like. So the higher the level, obviously, there's always FOMO, and you're sitting there going, oh my God, I'm falling behind. But when you have the talk with those higher level aspiration or levels of success folks, after you say it's okay to detach, does it sink in, or do you have to kind of sit there and poke at them a couple times and go, no, it's okay, I've done it, and here are my examples why? Or do they sit there? Is it a one and done with them, or do you have to kind of sit there and hammer at them a little bit? No, it's cool. It's okay to lay out.
Yeah, I think rarely messages are a one and done. I think it helps, no doubt, right, to get a perspective of someone that's been in their shoes and had higher level success. But I think that they always think, well, times are different now, and I have to be keeping up with the Joneses, or otherwise I'll fall behind, or you just don't get it, what my coach is like, or this and that. And that that may all be well and true, but yeah, I wish I could talk to some coaches out there as well and let them know, like, hey, if a kid's going to miss a game or this or that or a training session or whatnot, or it's not the end of the world. Like, figure it out. So.
Well, so then what would you tell these coaches who are as high wired as everybody else? It's like, because I think they are just as driven toward championships and success and things like that. And then that feeds to wanting more championships and more success and that ending hamster wheel that's there. What would you tell coaches in these situations?
Yeah, I just remember with my son when he was, man, how old was he? 8, maybe 9 max, playing in Atlanta, and he was doing baseball and soccer, soccer, the academy level soccer, and baseball. And both coaches were like, yeah, we encourage multiple sports and it's okay, but both of them were basically like, we encourage it. Just don't miss my practice. Don't miss my game. Essentially, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it's just such a challenge, right? You try and tell them like, yeah, we're going to do the best we can to manage both, but there's overlap here and we're going to miss some stuff here and there. And I get that from a coaching perspective. Hey, you can't have 6 players miss a game because, then we can't play the game. But there's got to be a better way where we can still allow children to play multiple sports, especially under the age of 11 or 12. It's just crazy. And so I just let them know that, hey, it's not the end of the world. And, you want a happy, healthy, excited player, right? I don't care if this kid shows up to every training. If he shows up because he's forced to and doesn't want to be there, what good is that doing anyone, including the player and the family? So, yeah, it's I think they get a little bit too wrapped up in it and, too focused on results and winning and too much of it in for themselves. And like, hey, what's best for the athletes here? What's most important? Because, we're not winning the World Cup here at, 9U, 10U, 11U, right? But could we help develop a player that might help us win a World Cup in the future? Maybe, but not if they don't love the game.
So, when you have these talks with adults and, if you had those talks with those kinds of adults, hopefully it would sink in. And when you're trying to impress upon them that it's okay to miss a couple things, are you the parent / mentor that is encouraging playing multiple sports, or are you a one person, sport mentor activist? How are you as a dad, and how are you as a mentor when it comes to playing more than one sport and being seasonal about things?
I love it. Don't get me wrong. I love it and I encourage it, but I also know it's so difficult. It's so difficult, and it's challenging, and it's expensive, and it's a lot on families. So I honestly don't know how realistic it is. And I hate even saying that, right? Because yes, it's possible, if you're only doing rec, to do seasonally, right? But even with my own son, we had to move on from rec baseball, especially here in Ohio. Rec baseball down south is much different.
Yeah.
But here it was, he was playing with kids who couldn't catch a ball, and, he's trying to really develop and get better and things. And so it was like, this isn't really helping him. He's not having fun going to practice doing this stuff. So we had to move on. And then when you get to a travel team, it's so difficult to play another sport. So as much as I encourage it, it's so unrealistic. Unfortunately, that's the way it is right now. And so, I don't want to, hey, yeah, you should play multiple sports. And when it's so challenging, and there are some players in high school that play multiple sports, which is great. And I see that. I even see it here locally, which is fantastic. But for high level athletes who are trying to get better, it's just so challenging, even from an age of like 9 or 10. And so I feel for parents, and I feel for kids that want to play multiple sports, but feel like they can't.
So, yeah, I mean, and is this an opinion that you've developed over time, more as a father, to understand, okay, it probably needs to be just locked down into one sport, or was this something that has become something that you've discovered over time? Was there a moment where you're like, yeah, it probably needs to be just one sport, or was it something that you've kind of just figured out?
I think down in Atlanta when we were trying to do NASA soccer and what was it, East Side baseball for my son. We were trying to have him play multiple sports, and the commitment just from the parents, right? Driving him to one practice, taking him straight to the other practice, like having dinner in the car in between, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot on us. It's a lot on him. And, it's just challenging. As much as he loved playing both and I want him to play both, it was just a lot. And it only gets tougher as they get older. And so, yes, I'm still a proponent, and I think it's great for athletes to play multiple sports. I really do believe that, number one, you're less likely to get these injuries at a younger age from overuse. And number two, I really do believe that there's so many things from multiple sports that you can learn and use in your main sport, that it's so beneficial. But it's tough. It's tough. And maybe as the second sport, you can play it recreationally. And that's the way you can do it, but it's impossible to play two travel teams or two, higher level sports.
Is there a sport that you would recommend? Abby mentions that her son continued with dance as a sidebar to help out with soccer and skills and flexibility and such. And that's a wild card that I would have never pictured, but it makes a whole lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
If there was a sport that you could pair with soccer, and like if soccer was your number one, it's like, okay, this is where my bread's buttered. I'm going down this road. What sport do you think would complement soccer the most when it comes to what you want to carry with you, whether it's skill set, mental, all of those different aspects? If you want soccer to be your number one, what sport do you think would be a good complement, at least recreationally, to help things out so you can still be number one in soccer, but still widen your skill set, be strong in other areas, those kinds of things?
Yeah. And it's a great question, John. And I think that honestly, there's probably 10 sports that could help out, right? Because I played baseball growing up, and you think like, oh, how could baseball help soccer, right? But I truly believe, because in baseball, I learned before soccer, what are you going to do with the ball when it comes to you, right? Every pitch, guys on base, different things, right? Where am I on the field? What am I going to do if the ball comes to me? What am I going to do if it's hit short? If it's hit to my left, it's hit to my right. Does that change what I'm going to do with the ball when I get it? Like all those little mental things that I'm thinking about. And then in soccer, you start thinking about the same thing. Okay, thinking ahead, right? What am I going to do with the ball if it comes over to me? And so now I'm reading the field a little bit more and seeing things. And so there's just one small example, right? Swimming could be so great for cardio, right? If you have to do a winter sport, right? Even karate, jujitsu, right? For discipline, or dance for flexibility. There's so many different sports that can have a benefit on your soccer play on or off the field. That there really is so many different ones. And I think that you can find something within every sport that can help you in another sport, including soccer.
And well, then, there's golf to help you out with, geometry and things like that. Well, and no, this was no lie. I had a conversation with Molly McCarty, and she's the girls head coach at Jefferson High School. And it hit me. She's a geometry teacher on campus. And I'm thinking to myself, it hit in my head. I'm like, wait a minute. You've got a geometry teacher teaching soccer. And so, a soccer coach teaching geometry, and it's triangles and angles and approaches and all the, and I'm like, my head basically exploded during the high school show, because you had a geometry teacher who's focused on, okay, well, if your angle is this and this and this, then you have 180 degrees and all this. And I'm like, oh my God, it didn't quite hit me that it doesn't matter what you think might not be there to help affect you on the field or off. You mentioned as many as 10 different sports and talking about 10 different ways to do things. You don't know what class is going to help you out, mentally to figure things out, whether it's geometry. It's like, oh, angles here and being in triangles and passing drills and things like that. You never know where you're going to get hit with something that you think is going to help you. And so having an open mind about all these things, I think, is just as important as figuring out what complementary sport can help you in soccer.
Totally. Because I see the comments on the side, and yeah, you think about basketball. Okay, how do I have success against a player that's a foot taller than me? If I'm 12 years old and this kid's way developed and I'm not yet, right? How do I have success on a basketball court? Same thing in soccer, right? Golf, I would think what I would get the most out of golf is how to bounce back from mistakes, right? That happens so much on the golf course, right? But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what just happened. How am I going to hit my next shot? Same thing in soccer, right? Get over your mistakes quick. So it's just endless, absolutely endless.
And that's another thing is just kind of the short-term memory aspect of it all. That since you open that door, short-term memory is something that I know that we all would like to have, and it's probably one of the most difficult things to accomplish. How do you have short-term memory but long-term recall, if that makes any sense? It's like get rid of the mistake, but don't forget about the mistake. How difficult is it to accomplish both of those?
Yeah, very, very. I think that what we try to encourage is forget it momentarily, right? And allow yourself afterwards to go back and say, what can I learn from that, right? Why did this occur and how can I get better from it? So you bank it and say, I'll come back to it, but refocus right now so that I don't make another mistake and, things start to snowball here. And your memory will go back to it for sure, right? Especially whenever we make a mistake, right? It's ingrained real quick. So we can always go back to it after the game, right? You can always remember most of the mistakes you make, especially right after a game, and you can journal them at that point and learn from them and figure them out, right? But in the moment, we try to help our athletes definitely have that short-term memory, that goldfish memory.
Yeah, Michael Parkhurst at MF Parkhurst on the 280 Character app, and Beyond Goals Mentoring, beyondgoalsmentoring.com at BG Mentoring on the 280 Character app. And the reason that, and so since you've mentioned being a goldfish and being a young player out there, for Atlanta United last time out, you had Pedro Amador, I think it was 90 minutes before the match, is like, I can't go. And he was, viewed, I can't go. And so what you end up doing is you end up tapping a 17-year-old, Dominic Chong-Kui, who Ronnie Dyla has a lot of faith in, and he's grown, incrementally and astronomically in just a handful of time that he spent coming through the academy, spent time with the academy and the U's and the twos and such. He's thrown into the pile, and literally it is like, okay, Dom, you're starting. And so you have a 17-year-old going up against NYC in front of 42,000 people. And yes, he does make a mistake that leads to a goal. But one of the things that you noticed is that the older players, the veteran players, Brad being one of them, first thing they do, when mistake happens, you put your arm around him. And it's like you're not yelling, ranting, raving, sitting there and going, what the bleepity bleep. It is literally a situation where a 17-year-old has been thrown into the pile, and you've got to make sure that goldfish mentality is there. He banks things. And he ends up putting up 57 minutes, and Matt Edwards plays his third position at the back four that he's done so far this year. You had two younger players come and step in a situation like that, but the advice that you're getting from a guy like Brad in that situation, I think, is just as key to help bank everything.
Oh, for sure. And that is such a challenging situation and such a learning opportunity for him, because it's tough to find out you're going to start, late like that in the first place. It's tough to come off a bench unexpectedly, and you learn real quick, am I prepared as much as I needed to be, as if I was starting? And I'm not saying he was or he wasn't, right? But I know from my experience and other guys, right, it's just different when you're not starting, right? I even ate more at pregame meal when I wasn't starting, because otherwise I'm starving sitting on the bench not playing, and get to halftime, I'm so hungry, right? So I just would eat more. And maybe I wouldn't do as much film if I knew, like, okay, I'm not going to play. Like, I don't need to know everything, right? Or, whatever it might be, right? And so are you as prepared, right? And so you learn these lessons, and what does my body need, to get ready real quick? I was talking to a mentee the other day that came off the bench and had to play right away. And it's like, okay, when you've got 2 minutes to warm up, what does your body need? How do you get ready that quick, right? Only you can figure that out through experience. And so, for Dom, like the experience of that, forget the mistake on the field, but just the experience of, okay, going from not starting to preparation, quick preparation, get ready, body change mentally, lock in, all these types of things. And then obviously the play on the field, right? This is invaluable for him. And I'm glad that, it wasn't a moment that we couldn't come back from, but yeah, I think he's going to be stronger in the future because of a day like Saturday, as difficult as it probably was for him.
A handful of minutes left here, and so you've got a team in Atlanta United that had a 7-goal thriller. The chaos that happened last time out in a homestand, and where are you looking in the times that you get to catch up and see what's going on with Atlanta United, whether it's highlights or 360 or whatever? Now that they've come out the other side on a 7-goal thriller, you got to learn a lot of things. You got to learn how to come back when you were down. You got to kind of figure things out a little bit on the fly on the field. What did your takeaways from Atlanta United and NYC?
It was fun and exciting to watch. I watched the game, and yeah, it was awesome. I think the Benz was rocking. It was loud, and I think that coming back in a game like that can really pump a team up more than if you just go out there and beat them 2-0, 3-0, because just knowing that you can come back from a deficit is so important. Now, we weren't very good at that when I was at Atlanta. Honestly, I don't, especially the first 2 years, we didn't come back very often. You can look at the stats,
the statistics,
yeah, those things. But that's a really important thing for a group to have that mentality of knowing, okay, we can come back here. We'll be all right. And I think that's what the front four can give you, the front five. I think I tweeted after the game that I thought this prior to the game. I was watching the game prior, and I can't remember who we played. And I thought Miggy is not as involved as he needs to be. He needs to play centrally more. And I don't know what that does to the rest of the team or whatever, but to get the best out of Miggy, since he's your best player, I think he needs to play centrally. I get that playing him wide gets the most talent on the field, but I think that we saw what having Miggy centrally can do.
And you've now got FCD coming to town, and it was the 2-2 draw with Cincy at TQL. That was the one before that, and then
I was thinking the last home game. Sorry, I don't know who the last home game was.
That was Messi and friends.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And so the 2-1 matchup against Messi and friends, and they go on the road to play at TQL, and then they get the 4-3 crazy. And now they got Lucho Acosta coming to town this weekend for FCD. I'd like to ask a question to the Mogul in training. You now have your opponent in Open Cup, and it is P-Hop, the Portland Hearts of Pine. What's the vibe with RIFC and P-Hop next round of the Open Cup, sir?
Yeah, it's exciting. I think it's great to have another team in New England. We played them a couple times actually in preseason, and they're a good team. I think we tied both games, but they absolutely could have beat us. And so they're a strong squad. And so I'm happy for Portland. I'm happy they've got a good team, and they've got a team in general. So yeah, it'll be exciting. It'll be fun.
Okay. David with a question. Did the Menace approach you to go with the All-Star team?
They did not. And I think that word has gotten out there enough to know that I don't partake in such things, because I was approached by a few different TST teams and guys reaching out, and I told them, I appreciate it, guys, but no thank you. So no such thing for me.
Okay, just checking. All right, what's the latest with Beyond Goals and Beyond Goals mentoring now that we're at spring break for some folks?
Yeah, we've also got high school playoffs coming up. So, that's exciting. We got a bunch of athletes that we're trying to help get ready for playoffs. And yeah, some MLS Next tournaments coming up and showcases. So a bunch of athletes coming up to some big moments here over the next few weeks. So just helping them get prepared.
250 files of individual mentees that you and Greg are juggling and making sure that the world is a much better place. As always, my friend, it's great to see you. Great to catch up with what's going on at Beyond Goals and get your vibes and your input about all of the issues of the day when it comes to soccer and applying it to mentoring. Go enjoy your weekend and make sure that you leave the room quietly so Deacon can continue to sleep, right?
Yes. Have a great weekend, John.
All right, that's Michael Parkhurst, everybody. Beyond Goals Mentoring and at BG Mentoring on the Twitters, at MF Parkhurst on the Twitters. And I mean, it is, boy, do they put up with me on a great deal of stuff. I mean, it's like we'll have a conversation and then that'll stir a topic. I mean, honestly, once again, I will show you the amount of questions that I have for Michael Parkhurst and Greg Garza on a given day. Let me see if I can. There it is. There it is. So that is the number of questions that I have prepared for Parky and Greg Garza, and for them to be able to answer the bell as much as they do, and come up with the topics that we do and all that kind of stuff. Very, very cool that we get to catch up with them and find out what's going on, and that they put up with me and all of my wanderings and all that kind of stuff. But Michael Parkhurst, Beyond Goals Mentoring, Michael Parkhurst, Rhode Island FC, all of the things that are there with, Abby's got breakfast at La Madeleine. All right, we'll enjoy that. You could always just bring us in there with you and just have the YouTube up on your phone and just have us be like the party of three. But no, they put up with me a great deal with all the questions that I have, because like I said, I don't really have anything prepared. Something might trigger in my head during the week, and then the on the field stuff is something that is a natural, but then it'll trigger something. It'll trigger an idea in a conversation, and that's where all of that stuff goes. So beyondgoalsmentoring.com, if you have a student athlete or a parent that might need mentoring assistance and or help, and at BG Mentoring, it is at MF Parkhurst, and Greg Garza is on Instagram and is not on Twitter. All right. Hour number 2. And that means it's the weekend whip around. Patent pending, trademark coming sooner, hopefully rather than later. I'm going to go through the odds in the Premier League. We'll go through what to watch, where to watch it, how to watch it, all those kinds of things, and then get you ready for MLS, Atlanta United, and FC Dallas coming up. If you missed the conversation that we had with Ryan Figert, the play-by-play voice on FC Dallas and the FC Dallas app, you can go back and listen to that. One of the things that I do want to bring up with Jason in his film study is the idea of running down that right-hand side against that left back, the young left back that's going to be in because of injury for FCD. So it might be run the right, challenge the kid. And then when you have insurance come over for FCD, that means that somebody else is open. Finding that open person as you're attacking down the right up against the young left back for FC Dallas, that to me is probably going to be something to keep an eye on for those of you that are going to be a part of the 40,000 plus at Mercedes-Benz on the weekend. All right, so we mentioned what's going on with Kevin De Bruyne and Manchester City. And so you have teams that wrapped up the midweek yesterday with Chelsea and Spurs. So you have 5 on Saturday, 4 on Sunday, and Leicester and Newcastle is Monday Night Football before they go back at it again on Saturdays and such. So yes, 7 to 12. Yes. Okay. Early match. It is Everton and Arsenal, and it is there's stupidity down here involving Jack Tarkowski and his wife and social media, and we'll get into it briefly. But once again, it is stupidity down here. Everton's a plus 376 at home. Arsenal's a minus 119. 10 o'clock. Crystal Palace favored at home against Brighton at a plus 142. Ipswich underdogs slightly. This is a must-win for them because it's a 6-pointer basically involving Wolves. Wolves favored on the road at a plus 152 at Ipswich. Ipswich is a plus 186. West Ham is a dog at home at a plus 199 against Bournemouth with all their injuries at a plus 131. Noon kick, the 12:30 is Aston Villa and Nottingham Forest. Villa even money plus 100. Nottingham Forest a plus 264. And your draw option of plus 254 in the composite, courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. Sunday, Brentford and Chelsea at the G-Tech. Brentford a plus 211. Chelsea, having played yesterday, is a plus 116. Fulham a plus 337, hosting Liverpool at a minus 123. And Spurs a minus 263. Southampton a plus 600. Your draw is a plus 432. And this is the weekend that they go through the time change in England. And so it's 9 o'clock starts on Sunday morning, 10 o'clock starts on Saturday morning, 11:30 the Manchester Derby. Manchester City is a plus 110. Manchester United a plus 235. Your draw is a plus 254. Monday Night Football, Leicester hosting Newcastle. Newcastle a minus 200. Leicester a plus 545. And the draw option is a plus 334. The stupidity down here, if I can find it, is having to do with just stupid stuff. And honestly, and I think it was in the Guardian, but it's over a foul call, and you end up with the PGMOL sitting there and saying that, yeah, there should have been a red card on Tarkowski. Andy Hunter at the Guardian. Everton condemned threats aimed at Tarkowski after the Merseyside derby, pledged to work with social media companies and police on any investigations into online abuse. Tarkowski's wife, Samantha, said the defender received death threats after the defeat at Liverpool, and that the family had also been the target of abuse. Booked for an 11th-minute tackle on Alexis, Howard Webb has admitted to Liverpool the challenge was worthy of a red. Tarkowski apologized to McAllister after the game. Arne Slot welcomed the admission of an error by the PGMOL, but that hasn't stopped Tarkowski and his family from getting abused on social media. And statement from Everton. David Moyes came out with a statement earlier today. Samantha Tarkowski wrote on Instagram, said she had no choice but to call out the abuse following the derby, even though, quote, we usually just laugh it off. The level of abuse my husband is receiving, wishing death on him by comments about me, about us as a couple, and about him as a person is beyond disgusting. Yes, it is. And it even got to the point to where Samantha Tarkowski dropped an S-bomb on the gram. So it's paragraph 3, but the pure-ish messages, the threats, that's intentional, that's on you. Football's a sport, but the way some so-called fans behave is disgraceful. The abuse, the threats, it's not passionate, it's pathetic. We're real people, and this goes far beyond football. And yes, she did use the S word. She did not use the word ish. So, yeah, you got that. So, stupidity down here. Find out who they are and make sure that those individuals have no business doing anything involved with an Everton match ever, ever, ever again. Oh, well, there you go. Speaking of one of the individuals that we've been talking about this morning. It's official. Dominic Chong-Qui signed to a homegrown contract in the first team. Aiden Torres has been put on season-long loan to the Twos. So Dominic Chong-Qui is now officially signed to a different kind of deal now. So very, very cool stuff there that we've seen involving Dom and Dominic Chong-Qui, officially official when it comes to the deal that has now been signed. So Dominic, we've seen what DCQ has been able to do on the field. And so now, according to a lot of folks, including Doug Robertson of the AJC, DCQ signed to a homegrown contract, and the first team, Aiden Torres, has been put on a season-long loan to the Twos. Yesterday, Slishan Muyumba had made practice. Togashi now is a blonde. So there you go. DCQ gets a deal. Well-deserved. Next steps, looking forward to seeing it. But DCQ gets a deal. Very, very cool stuff there involving a very, very talented young man, and it's been great to see his progression and see everything continue to evolve in his game to where we are. So once again, very, very cool stuff there involving Dominic Chong-Qui. And so now, all right, you got the deal. And so now it's time to continue to grow and mature and evolve the game. So very, very cool stuff there with Dom Chong-Qui. All right, so we mentioned stupidity down here, and yeah, no real shock. And apparently Alexander Sefrin doesn't like the 64-team World Cup idea. Jessica Charman, news involving her beloved Reading. The owner has been given a sale extension amid the threat of suspending the club from all activities in the EFL. Barcelona, the Spanish Sports Council has upheld Barca's complaint. Sid Lowe in Madrid Danny Olmo and Po Victor can continue to play till the end of the year after the CSD, the Spanish Sports Council, upheld Barcelona's appeal against the league's decision to unregister them because the club did not meet a 31 December deadline on financial controls. Judgment comes a day after La Liga said Barca still did not comply with the salary limit set and that it would report the club's former auditors after €100 million effectively disappeared from the accounts. 3-month investigation delivered their judgment. Government body ruled that the Joint League Federation Commission that had announced the players could not be registered lacks the jurisdiction to rule on the case and that they had incorrectly denied the players a license. Olmo and Victor faced having the registration removed with immediate effect, but now can continue to play till the end of the fiscal year, after which Barca on June 30 will again have to meet FFP limits to register them for next year. So you had the 3 separate auditors. 31 December, Abading in Catalonia, Grant Thornton, and Crow. So Abading said, yeah, everything's good. Grant Thornton and Crow were like, no, it's not. They do not now include the €100 million deal. Okay. And more on that on the Morning Espresso with Jason. You can catch that in audio, video, or newsletter form. And you can find out what's on Jason's mind for like 15 minutes every morning. And we go deeper and in depth here on SDHAM. So you got all that. And is Ange Postecoglou out, overdone, and gone? Because it appeared that he cupped his ear to the fans. And everybody's like, oh, that's intentional. He did what he did. Oh, I don't, And so there's the standard amount of hue and cry involving Postecoglou. He's denied goading the fans by cupping his ears. So this might be done by at the end of this year. Ruud van Nistelrooy dropped Harry Winks from Leicester's squad in a row over a 100-mile commute. Van Nistelrooy wanted Winks to spend one night a week at the training ground. And now he's axed him from the squad after he refused to compromise on the commute. Van Nistelrooy had a confrontation with Winks over the international break after he declined a request to stay overnight one day a week at the training ground. Understood that the England international is one of 3 senior players to travel more than 90 miles a day to the training complex. Van Nistelrooy, in the article from John Percy at the Telegraph, battling to instill discipline at the strugglers, his plea for Winks to stay overnight at the training fell flat. £10 million signing from Spurs in July of 23, understood to have his own private reasons for commuting every day to training, announced the birth of a baby girl on Thursday. Enzo Maresca also allowed the midfielder to travel from his base without any issues. Van Nistelrooy reacted angrily, according to Percy, to what he perceived as indiscipline and excluded Winks from the squad for Wednesday night's match at Manchester City. Keen for Winks to stay overnight to aid preparation, with the squad training in the afternoon before a session the following morning. Unclear whether Winks will be available for Monday night's match against Newcastle, but folks are saying that the tete-a-tete was pretty heated. So you have Vestergaard recently bringing his dog to the training ground. Telegraph revealed that he was given permission to bring his pet on the one occasion because his family were away and no one was there to care for it. Vestergaard has not appeared in any Leicester squad since a loss at the end of February. 14 losses in the last 15 matches for Leicester. Sorry, Knicks. So it's a rough go, and Ruud van Nistelrooy is mad at Harry Winks, and it ain't looking good. It is not looking good. All right, let's get into the weekend preps in Major League Soccer. We'll go through all of the matches. We'll go through the standings. We'll lay out everything. We'll give you the juice boxes as we go here, and I anticipate Jason joining us in about 15 minutes, and we'll see who else gets to crash and who wants to crash. We'll roll through the matchups, give you the juice boxes, questions across the board. I want to know what you think in the Twitch pitch. I want you guys to know what is going on. There you go. David with a question basically about DCQ-ish. So who has the 14-year-old left back academy name for all of us to invest in, as every 3 years we have a 17-year-old phenom left back? Well, this is left back you. But that is a question for that's a question for for Jason and for Maddie about next up when it comes to left back you, who else to keep an eye on. So we'll pose that question when they come in. So left back you continues. That needs to be a T-shirt with us. All right, here's your rundown of the matchups, complete with juice boxes. Charlotte Nashville SC is going to start things off at 2:30. This is where we got to find out who the officials are as well when it comes to all of the pro refereeing assignments. And we will get those as well. So Charlotte is starting things off in the weekend. Match day 7 assignments. We'll go over those once again coming up in a bit. We'll go over Lucas Zapala's in the middle. Corey Parker's your AR1. Kyle Atkins is your AR2. Callan Radoslav, your 4th. Greg Dopka and Tom Supple, your VAR and your AVAR. In this particular matchup, Charlotte at home, even money plus 100. Draws a plus 236. Nashville SC is a plus 277. And apparently Dean Smith is none too pleased with the development of Wilf Zaha. So it was interesting comments. Apparently Zaha has to grow into he's got to grow into what's going on. Wilf, if I could spell Wilfred. Wilf Zaha. It's Wilfred Zaha. So yeah, there were press conference stuff this week with the latest in Wilf Zaha. But obviously we'll keep an eye on that. But you know that Wilf Zaha is that he's out there, and he is like the main gun that folks are looking at for Charlotte, and it's going to be up to Zaha to adjust to everything. And all you've got to do is look as far back as the matchup against Messi and friends. They're going to foul him. They're going to be physical, and it's up for him to adjust. And it's also up to Charlotte to adjust to help see if Pep Biel is going to help and be that secondary name, because it's, hey, Wilf, go long and we'll get it to you. But when you're being physical and you're being fouled and he gets frustrated, then who are you going to have step up? So that's the quest right now for Charlotte. Charlotte is in the Wilf Zaha offensive loop. Who's going to help? And then when they help, does that free up Zaha? So right now, Charlotte is even money, plus 100. Nashville a plus 277, and your draws a plus 236. 440. I look at the times and I just add 10 minutes now. RSL hosting LAG. RSL at a plus 108. LAG and the draw basically within the range of error at about a plus 242. Guido Gonzalez Jr., the man in the middle. Jeffrey Greason, Ben Pilgrim, your ARs. Thomas Snyder is your 4th. Jeff Gamble and Claudio Badea are your VAR and your AVAR. For the other matchups there, you're looking at, LAG playing in the midweek RSL, safe haven at home. So I'm looking once again at the home side here at a plus 108. But once again, LAG played in the midweek. They're going to have a quick turn. What does the lineup look like? How are they with their minutes? All those kinds of things. I'm looking at RSL here. Crew and CF Montreal. We're going to save Atlanta United and FC Dallas. Crew and CF Montreal. Crew naturally a huge favorite at a minus 238. Draws a plus 373. CF Montreal is a plus 580. Alexis De Silva is the man in the middle. Logan Brown is your AR. Oscar Mitchell Carvalho is your AR2. Nabil Ben Salah is your 4th. Soren Stoichka and Robert Schaap, your VAR and your AVAR. CF Montreal, what are you going to do? What are you doing with CF Montreal right now? As I said, I will say it again. If CF Montreal wins at Crew, you will see me drink Diet Mountain Dew in the air. That's where we are. I don't see a whole lot of promise in this matchup for CF Montreal. They ground out a result last time. It was not a win. It was a bit of a stunner that they drew Chicago. I don't know if that says more about Chicago or about CF Montreal. But it's Crew, and so we'll see what happens at a minus 238 at 740. Cincinnati and the Revs. Cincinnati a minus 179. Your draws a plus 321. The Revs are a plus 437. Pierre-Luc Lazier is in the middle. Liz Arfa, Diego Blas, your ARs. Marcus De Oliveira, your 4th. Edvin Jurasevich and Tom Supple, your VAR, and your AVAR. So Supple will be on his second match of the day as an AVAR. AVARing Charlotte and Nashville, AVARing Cincinnati and the Revs. Once again, the Revs they were fortunate last time out. The Revs were fortunate. Set piece from Carlos Hill once again. They've only scored 3 goals this year. Not a whole lot of goals for the Revs to have been scored this season. Going to Cincinnati as a decided underdog. We'll see what happens here, but obviously I'm leaning to the home side. One of the more intriguing matchups outside of Atlanta, early starts at 7:40. Red Bulls and Chicago Fire at SI Stadium. Red Bulls a -128. Fire are a plus 349, and your draw is a plus 259. In that matchup, Jair Marufo is in the middle. Corey Rockwell, Adam Winkowski, your ARs. J.C. Griggs is your fourth. Jeff Gamble and Craig Lowry are your VAR and your AVAR. This one's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be an interesting one for a couple of different reasons. Is Chicago on the road, or what are they like on the road? Are they for real, or do they still have things to figure out on the road? Red Bulls, they need to get back onto the winning side. They get the chance to do it at home at a -128. Defense really let them down last time out. They really let me down in fantasy, by the way. Fix your fantasy teams if you have not in whatever league you're in. But yeah, how do Red Bulls respond after last week? How do Fire respond on the road after what happened last week with CF Montreal? I'm thinking draw here. I think they cancel each other out, or if it is going to be a Red Bull win, it's going to be a tight one. Philadelphia and Orlando. Purple team is a plus 215 on the road. Draws a plus 271. Philadelphia is a plus 110. Ismail Pekmich is in the middle. Gerard Kader-Lebuy, is your AR along with Eduardo Jeff. Luis Diego Arroyo is your fourth. Eunice Marakchi and Brian Dunn, your VAR and your AVAR. Philadelphia, the Bradley Carnell Philadelphia Union, going up against an Orlando City team. By the way, conversations this week now again, we went through this 2 years ago, about the contract situations involving Oscar Pareja and Luis Muzzi. So what happens there? Yeah, that's a decision for the hierarchy in Orlando to figure out what they want to do involving Oscar Pareja. Team's getting older. What resources is Luis Muzzi going to have going forward? Do they wait till the end of the year? Do they try and come up with some kind of a decision to lock him in? That kind of a thing. So keep an eye on the purple team off the field. On the field, Philadelphia at a plus 110. I think what we've seen now that Ty Barbo is back from international duty, we'll see what Philadelphia looks like offensively. I'm leaning Philly here. 7:45, which is 7:55, so that's a big FOXCN pregame show. Austin hosting Portland at Q2. Austin a big favorite at a -141. Portland scoring goals. They're at a plus 368. Your draws at a plus 280. Drew Fisher's in the middle. Chris Elliott, Ricardo Ocampo are your ARs. John Freeman is your fourth, no relation. Jorge Gonzalez and Mike Kampmeinert are your VAR and your AVAR in that one. Austin at home. Got to get some work done. Portland scoring, so maybe the play here is a total if you want to avoid Austin at that -141, or if you want to chase after Portland at the plus 280 for the draw in 90 minutes. The totals, over under 2.5 is the over 2.5 a -128, over 3 is a plus 133, over 3.5 is a plus 187. I like that one. So over under 3.5 a plus 187. Keep an eye on that one in that matchup with Portland on the road at Austin. Hell in a Shell, Houston hosting LAFC. Once again, LAFC in the midweek going up against Messi and friends. Houston favored at home, but it's on the plus side at a plus 142. Your draw is a plus 231. LAFC is a plus 189. Philip Dujic is the man in the middle. Corey Richardson, Justin Howard are your ARs. Matt Thompson is your fourth. David Barry, we remember David Barry as a VAR in Atlanta against LAFC, but it was against Matty Bogusz, who's now at Cruz Azul. And Claudio Badea is your AVAR in that particular matchup. So It's a test for Houston. Houston right now desperately looking for a win at the bottom of the West. And LAFC coming off of playing Messi and friends, winning a grinder 1-0 in the midweek. Does Houston get it? We've been talking about who they lost. Ache and Carrasquilla, and you really didn't replace them. So maybe the draw here at plus 231, just saying. I-71 Derby, Sporting in St. Louis City SC. And with all of the problems that we've seen involving Sporting Kansas City, and we've talked about them a lot all week. Tori Penso, Catherine Nesbitt, Brooke Mayo, by the way. Ref in your AR. Sergei Demyanchuk is your fourth. Michael Radchuk and Megan Mullen, your VAR and your AVAR. With Sporting, where are you going? Kerry Zavagnan's going to be your interim going forward. Don't know for how long. Don't know if there's going to be a big name named chief soccer officer. Don't know if you're going to have someone who's going to be brought in. Don't know what that whole process is going to be like. Catch the interview that we had with Daniel Sperry from the Kansas City Star on the network. And your Sporting has questions. The time frame in which they answer them is going to be part of the Palace intrigue here going forward. You're not going to have Lewin, I believe, if you're St. Louis. So maybe it's another total match. I don't know if I want to go after somebody who wants to pick a winner in this one with Sporting and City. But that one's at 8:40 at Children's Mercy Park. So we'll go ahead and we'll dive into the totals. 2.5 a minus 136, 3 a plus 127, 3.5 is a plus 180. Under 3.5 is a minus 250. So if you're looking at 2.5, over 2.5 a minus 136, under 2.5 a plus 103, and that's when things start to shift. So if you're looking at goalkeepers standing on their head, Tim Melia retiring, by the way. That was announced by Sporting yesterday, I believe. So it is going to be a Tim Melia-less Sporting Kansas City going forward. I mean, it had been already this year, but Tim Melia officially retiring. One of the great penalty kick stoppers in the history of this planet or any other planet. Whitecaps in Colorado at 9:30 or 9:40. Vancouver at home at BC Place, a minus 128. They went through Pumas. They went through it with Pumas in the midweek, so you've got that to come around from CONCACAF. Colorado draw plus 281 and Colorado to win a plus 324. Katja Koroleva, Stefan Tanaka-Freund, and Chris Wadham, your ref and your ARs. Fotis Bazakas, your fourth. Timothy Ford is your VAR. Joshua Patlak is your AVAR. Vancouver, traditionally tough place to play. Literally, that's the first conversation piece you should have in any of this. Tough place to play. And so Vancouver playing in the midweek, probably going to try and grind this down to a halt. Colorado might have to do a lot of the leg work here. So maybe it's a draw. Maybe take the under on a total somewhere. Not anticipating a whole lot of goals in this one. The late game on Saturday night, San Diego FC hosting Seattle. Our conversation with Nico Moreno. Caught up with him about it. You can catch that conversation either on the SDH YouTube channel late in the conversation yesterday and yesterday's show, the last half hour, or you can listen to it on your favorite podcatcher because we pull that segment and post it separately when we do Thursdays with Nico. San Diego at home at Snapdragon, a plus 1.25. Draws a plus 235. Seattle is a plus 211. And so the crew for that one, Malik Badawi, Jason White, Felicia Mariscal. Rosendo Mendoza is your fourth. Armando Villarreal and Mike Kampmeinert are your VAR and your AVAR. That's the second match of the day for Kampmeinert. He's literally going from Austin and Portland into the next room to get ready for San Diego and Seattle at 10:30. So he sleeps in, make sure he's got his Red Bull or his caffeine or whatever with him because he's going from one booth to the next. Back-to-back AVARs. So we'll keep an eye on stuff like that. Couple of matches on Sunday to look at. NYC and Minnesota United. Let me see which. I want to see which, let me see if this is actually going to be at the U12 pitch in the Bronx or if they're moving it to Queens. So when the schedule pops up, I'll be able to tell you. Nothing like clicking on buttons and not having them behave. All right, so it is on Sunday at Yankee Stadium. So it is in the Bronx. So it is a 3:10 start, 3, 5, and 7 on Sunday on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass, Sunday Night Soccer. We'll get to that one in a bit. So NYC hosting Minnesota on the U12 pitch at Yankee Stadium. Sergi Boyko, the man in the middle, Adam Garner, Gianni Facchini, Luis Diego Arroyo, the rest of your crew, your ARs, and your fourth. Timothy Ford is your VAR. So he goes from being the 9:30 VAR to catching a flight first thing in the morning to go to Yankee Stadium. Oh, actually, no, he's still VAR, so he just goes over the room. Okay, never mind. I thought he was the fourth for a second. But Timothy Ford, your VAR. Jonathan Johnson is your AVAR. So Timothy Ford gets to sleep in a little bit, but he's there for the first match for VAR on Sunday. I've got to go NYC here just on premise, just because of how difficult it is to play at Yankee Stadium. Plus 114, Minnesota United to plus 211. Your draws a plus 257 in the composite. 5 o'clock or 5:10, San Jose and DC United. And I think this was just one where the juice boxers were just like, yeah, whatever, because literally the numbers are the same, except for the draw option. In the composite, with all the juice box purveyors, NYC Minnesota odds and San Jose DC United odds are identical, plus 14 and plus 210. Draws a little bigger for San Jose and DC at a plus 266. Early afternoon start on a Sunday, DC having to travel. I can see why San Jose's a plus 114. I would lean the home team here. Sunday Night Soccer. Messi and friends hosting Toronto FC. It's part of your life that you won't be able to get back, but you're probably going to watch it anyway. Messi and friends a minus 256. Robin Fraser runs into the Erector Set Buzzsaw to plus 627. Draws a plus 386. San Jose's crew, Victor Rivas, Jeremy Kiso, Stephen McGonigal, Joe Dickerson is your fourth, David Barry is your VAR, and Matthew Rodman is your AVAR. Rubiel Vasquez, the man in the middle, with Jeremy Hansen, Mike Nickerson, and Chris Penso, Daniel Radford, Jonathan Johnson. So Jonathan Johnson goes from the 3 o'clock game at Yankee Stadium to get a game off to go to the Erector Set game as the AVAR in Dallas. Vasquez, Jeremy Hansen, Mike Nickerson, Chris Penso, Daniel Radford, Jonathan Johnson. So those are your matchups with your teams there. But once again, Miami minus 256 in this one. Going over the standings just so we've got the foreknowledge going into the weekend. In the East, Miami 5 matches, 13 points. Philadelphia, Columbus, both 12 points out of the blocks in 6. Philadelphia's got the better goal difference by 1. Of course, we're 6 matches into a 34-match schedule. Chicago at 11 points. Charlotte, Nashville, Orlando, each with 10. Cincinnati with 10. That's 5, 6, 7, 8. Charlotte has more goals scored, 1, than Nashville, and they're equal on goal difference. Orlando is 3rd in goal difference. Cincinnati is 4th with a minus. Red Bulls right now at 8 points, along with NYC, FC, and Atlanta. Everybody's at 2, 2, and 2. Goal difference means Red Bulls, NYC, and Atlanta United in that order. That gets you to 12. 6 points, 6 matches for DC. New England with their win last time out. First win of the year. 4 points ahead of Toronto and Montreal. Toronto and Montreal, by the way, 0-4 and 2. Toronto has scored 6, given up 12. Montreal has scored 3, given up 10. Western Conference, Vancouver's on the top through 6 matches at 13 points. Austin FC is at 12. San Diego, Minnesota, Colorado, each at 3, 1, and 2. Goal difference means San Diego, Minnesota, Colorado. Portland and Dallas each with 10 points at 3, 2, and 1. Better goal difference in Portland. 8, 9 right now is LAFC with 9 points. St. Louis City SC with 8. San Jose at 7 points. Once again, you don't know which one you're going to get. RSL and Seattle each with 6 points. LAG with 2 points. Houston with 2 points. They are both at 0-4 and 2. And that's why we've been saying kind of keep an eye on if once again, you're looking at folks that might be looking for changes of address. We've already seen it with Laurent Courtois, which was ridiculous. And now we've seen it with Peter Vermes. But Houston at 0-4-2, LA at 0-4-2. LA has scored one more goal. So we're to the second tiebreaker. Kansas City, 1 point, 0-5-1, 6 goals scored, giving up 2 on average, and it's only scoring 1 on average, 0-2-1, 0-3-0 at home and away this season. So that's where things stand going into the match that we're going to talk about here with Atlanta United and FC Dallas. Atlanta United minus 152 at home against FCD. FC Dallas is a plus 361, draws a plus 312. If you get into the other numbers, you want to get into totals and things like that, the over-under 2.5 a minus 185, 3.5 a plus 131. So they're kind of underselling it a little bit. They're thinking something 2-1-ish. 4.5 a plus 300. Considering what happened last time, just for giggles, if it ended up 4-3 again, the over-under at 6.5 is a plus 1450. Once again, that's in the composite courtesy of our friends at Odds Portal. And the question that we have is, once again, the conversation that we had with Ryan Figert, where you have a young left back who has made his way up through the academy, and he's been getting minutes, but it looks like he's going to be getting the start coming out of the blocks at left back. So then the attack that we know with Atlanta United down the right is right in the crosshairs of that replacement. Quoting the boss when she's referring to someone who is trying to either have fun in the house and have zoomies, or needs to go outside and visit the trees and the bushes. Run. Okay, he's still asleep. He didn't trigger that, but anyway, that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at the left side of the defense for FC Dallas, the right side of the attack for Atlanta United, and how FC Dallas will help in the defense in that particular pattern of offense for Atlanta United, and then once again adjust to the adjustment. I figure it's going to be down the right-hand side of the attack. Brooks, Saba, Miranchuk, Miggy, all of that down the right-hand side, going up against a young left back for FC Dallas. How does Dallas then adjust to that adjustment? How does Atlanta adjust to that? So you figure there's going to be some shading, there's going to be some protection over there. Then how does Atlanta sit there and adjust to that protection and the shading from FC Dallas? So there you go. There it is. Ricky looking at the schedule. Disappointing, the league had an opportunity to have a replaying of the first MLS match on Sunday Night Soccer, and they picked Miami and Toronto. Morning, Lookville. How is everybody this morning? So yeah, so you get Sunday Night Soccer, and you're going with Messi and friends, and I guess I should look at did I look at the total on this one already? Because if you look at the I know we looked at the numbers. Let me look at the total and see what the totals are in this particular matchup on Sunday Night Soccer. Over under Messi and friends in Toronto, 2.5 a minus 184, 3.5 a plus 135. So if it gets to 2-2 and you've cleared it a plus 135 at the erector set, you're looking for 4 goals. You can get that at a plus 135. 4.5 is a plus 315. So if you think it's going to go to 3-2, you can get it at a plus 415. A plus 315 in the composite. So plus 315 at 4.5. It is 3.5 a plus 135 and 2.5 a minus 184. Sometimes I just think they just throw numbers up there to throw them up there. But anyway, so not a surprise. Everything kind of shifts around 3. And Messi and friends at a minus 256 in that one. In that matchup, once again, folks in the middle, Rubio Vasquez, Jeremy Hansen, Mike Nickerson, Chris Penso, your VAR, Daniel Radford, Jonathan Johnson, your AVAR. For Atlanta, it is Ricardo Fierro in the middle, Ryan Graves, Kevin Klinger, Benjamin Meyer, your ARs and your fourth, Armando Villarreal's your VAR, Your AVAR is Jeff Mushik. So Armando Villarreal is your VAR in this matchup with Ricardo Fierro on the board for being the man in the middle in this particular matchup. But for Atlanta United, for me, once again, it's that first matchup going down the right-hand side of the attack up against a young left back. What does FCD do to help shade and help with numbers? And what does Atlanta United do when they find that numerical advantage and then find the open man? So that's what I'm staring at here. Hit it early, hit it often, and we'll see what happens when folks adjust. That's what I'm staring at with that particular matchup. Let me know what's on your mind when it comes to this one as well. Other news in and around, like I said, we talked about the MLS juice boxes. We talked about the Premier League juice boxes that are there and all of the other issues that are attached with yeah, and all the other silliness and stupidity that's attached there as well. Let me go through the other news that is in and around this morning. Once again, we talked about Kevin De Bruyne, and there's a concern or just a wonder if he would be available for the Club World Cup or if he would be available for someone else in the Club World Cup. So that to me is one of the larger points. So if it's at the end of the season, De Bruyne, where does he go? And does it end up being someplace else that that you could end up playing for if you transfer in the extraordinary transfer window? That is the other elements in all of this. Speaking of Manchester City, details of the club's, and this is from PA Media, details of the club's legal challenge to the Prem's updated rules on commercial deals have been shared with their rivals. City launched the arbitration proceedings back on January 20 against the validity of the amended associated party transaction rules, which seek to ensure that deals struck between clubs and entities linked to the ownership are fair market value. The league is understood to have emailed clubs on Thursday to inform them of a statement of claim from City dated March 27. The claim sets out the details of City's arguments against the rules. The Times reports that it criticizes the Premier League's treatment of shareholder loans under the new APT rules, saying that it is, quote, distorting economic competition between clubs. Times reports claims names Arsenal, Brighton, Everton, and Leicester of clubs who have had an unfair advantage as a result of how shareholder loans have been treated. APT rules originally introduced back in December 21 following the Saudi takeover of Newcastle. Rules successfully challenged by City last year. A tribunal found them unlawful on multiple grounds, the rules, not City, including the fact that they excluded shareholder loans from fair market value assessments. Premier League consulted with clubs on amendments, 16 teams voting on favor of the amended rules at a meeting last November. City launched a challenge to the amended rules. Statement of claim on Thursday linked to the challenge. City and the Premier League have declined comment. And so that's where we are with Manchester City. In the sport's highest court, and I guess this is technically breaking news. It's going to hold fast-track appeals next month as Leon tries to overturn the FIFA decision to expel them from the Club World Cup. CAS has said that Leon and Pachuca have separately filed appeals against FIFA's ruling that barred Leon from the Club World Cup because the clubs have the same owner. Club Leon has filed, and this is the quote from the court, Club Leon filed an additional appeal against the decision by the FIFA Secretary General to be reinstated in the competition. No target was given for a verdict in the case. FIFA revealed plans this week for the one-game qualification playoff between LAFC and Club America if the ruling is upheld by CAS. Alajuelense once again still arguing their case that they should be Team 32. Case is being heard on appeal April 23rd in Madrid, though it is listed by The Guardian that its importance is secondary to the Leon appeal. Leon included by FIFA in the tournament draw in December, despite the pending multi-club ownership issue, drawn in with a group of Chelsea, Esperance of Tunisia, and Flamengo. Whichever club wins the spot opens the tournament with a game against Chelsea in Atlanta. So I guess you know what that means. I guess that means we should probably check Ticketmaster and find out what the Club World Cup tickets are going for, and if things have changed or if they're any different. Once again, sliding down into it was promoted. I was wondering why a Jim Gaffigan event was in the Club World Cup section. So we'll see what happens here. Once again, finding tickets for the opener right now listed as Chelsea and Club Leon. Yes, I agree. And so get-in price still at $83.65. So that has not changed, even though we're still trying to figure out who the opponent may or may not be. Let's bring in Jason here with 20 minutes to go. How much time we got you, partner?
As much time as you need.
Okay. We'll go through the end of the show here. When you look at, I guess the first thing is the news about Dominic Chong-Qui. Dominic Chong-Qui gets his deal, and once again, left back U is showing up for Atlanta United, another contract.
Crazy. George Bello, Caleb Wiley, and now Dominic Chong-Qui in a team that is in its 9th season, has already produced 3 youth internationals for the U.S. and 3 players out of your academy in the same position. And it's not like, there's something in the water about playing left back in Atlanta. It's a position it's actually kind of hard to develop. It's crazy. It's very, very cool. It's awesome for Dom, a player that, I remember seeing with the U6 teams when they won a national championship, and he jumped off the screen watching those games and their run to that MLS Next tournament title. And then last year, you start to see him around the twos earlier in the year, and you never know. And sometimes, everybody's on different pathways. Sometimes guys make that connection really quick. Sometimes guys are able to handle it physically, but maybe not emotionally. Sometimes guys have the composure and the technical skill, but don't handle the physicality well. I think Dom is one of those guys that has been able to combine all of it. And once he kicked in the door with the twos last year, came off the bench a couple of times, was impactful every time he got on the field. Once he started to do that, he took the job and he never gave it back. And then this preseason, look, it's another opportunity. He signed to a pro deal in the offseason with the homegrown kicking in next year. And with the injury to Pedro Amador in preseason, Dom gets a lot of playing time. And he just fits right in. That's the thing is you see him play with the first team in preseason, and Ronnie Dyla talked about it all preseason. He just looks like he belongs. And it's something that Steve Cook mentioned last season consistently. When he went up the next rung in the ladder, he didn't look overwhelmed, and he adjusted and adapted really well, really quickly. And it was kind of a matter of time, with Pedro being a little bit slower to get back into the flow of things this season. Dom kept getting opportunities, and he kept doing everything that he could with them. And look, people can say whatever they want about last week. He made a mistake. He's a young player making his first start. Team gets punished for it. It happens. He was very good before that. He was not the Dom that we've seen with the twos and the academy, in that it's his first start. He's figuring it out, the pace of the game. He wasn't prepared to start, all the different things that happen with that. But that moment is a moment, and it's one that I think back to Caleb Wiley made that kind of a mistake in the Red Bulls game during 2022. And Gonzalo Pineda said he's going to be better off for making that mistake now than making it at 21, at 22 years old. Dom's going to be the same way. So I thought the fact that he spoke to the media afterwards says a lot about who he is and his confidence level and what he's going to be. And that was maybe what impressed me the most so far about Dominic Chong-Qui is on a night like that, with the mistake that he made, he didn't run and hide. He spoke to the media, and that says a lot about his character. I was really impressed.
57 minutes, 2 total tackles. It was winning 2 duels on the day on the ground, 32 touches, 69% passing. And then Matthew Edwards comes in and runs the other 33 minutes. And so now Matthew Edwards is, I think, one position away from filling out the bingo card on the back line this year, and Matt continues to impress.
Yeah, he's played, all across the back line. He hasn't played on either side of center back, but he's played right back, he's played center back, he's played left back. He came up as a 6, so maybe we see him as a 6 at some point. You're really lucky with the guys that you're developing out of the academy. And I think it goes back to the original investment that Arthur Blank made to start the academy a year early. And you've seen it pay off consistently. And now what you want to see as this club continues to grow, and especially grow its depth, and not just depth in the first team roster, but depth as a club. You want to see more homegrowns come up, and you want to see more homegrowns play, and you want to see more homegrowns show quicker that they're able to play at this level and contribute to the first team. Because we've seen it around MLS over this last decade or so plus. The clubs that are able to increase their depth and get contributions from guys they develop. And that's homegrowns, that's guys that they draft, that's guys that they sign and come through the second team. In a cap league, you have to have those kinds of contributions. You're not asking them to be MLS best 11 at times. I think, Caleb Wiley showed that he was at that kind of level. I think Dom has that kind of potential. That you'd love to see that, but you can't guarantee that. You want guys to be able to come in and contribute and do like what you're seeing with Matt. Matt is another one who signed to the twos last year. Wasn't guaranteed anything. That's something that he told us when he signed his first team deal middle of last season. He didn't walk into the twos with that guarantee of a first team deal. It was, we're going to sign you. We're going to pay you. We want to see what you can turn into. He's turned into a really dependable player at the MLS level. It's very, very cool to see. And he's just one of the good guys. I hope you saw the clip that we shared from this week in training, where this is a guy who long-term in his life is going to contribute a lot to the sport. He's going to be a coach. He's going to end up having a long professional career. And you're already seeing him be a mentor in ways to a guy like Dom. So that's very, very cool to see.
What has study hall been like for you getting ready for FC Dallas? What have you seen at the Children's Healthcare of Atlanta training ground this week? What are you expecting from Atlanta United coming off the 7-goal car crash that ended up full points by the end of it all?
Hopefully fewer goals conceded. That's one thing that I hope that we see, because that was not fun. The outcome was fun. The chaos was fun for people who aren't sweating through it the way that we were trying to call that game, because it was nuts.
Yep.
Dallas is a team we saw in the preseason finale. We got to see them up close in Marietta. I think a team that plays in a very, very similar way to Atlanta United. You've got different personnel, so there's a different flavor to it, but a lot of similar ingredients, and you're trying to get to the same kind of a dish in the way that you want to play. You want the ball. You want to play in a 4-3-3. You want to be very good with your counter pressure. You want to be, you want to play a very high line. You want to make it very difficult for the opponent to feel comfortable. You go about it different ways. Luciano Acosta is a very different kind of player than Alexei Miranchuk. Both are maestros. Both are very talented on the ball. Alexei gives you more on the defensive side. Lucho doesn't, so you have to make up that ground. I think Atlanta's center backs are better on the ball than Dallas's center backs, but Dallas's center backs may be more athletic, so that high line, they can do it, and they can get back and recover. We'll find out how athletic they are in chasing Latte Lot. That's going to be an interesting battle. It's a game that you got to take control of, and I want to see a little bit more of that in this game. I think that's the next step for this Atlanta United team is. And watching training sessions over the past few weeks, I think you're seeing Ronnie Dyla and his staff really hone in on wanting to be better with the ball. Because if the team's better with the ball, you don't get into the weird games like you had last week. You don't have some of those moments where the opponent wins the ball from you, gets forward quickly, and you're unbalanced. You don't have those breakdown moments. And you've got to be better in possession. And that's, when we talk possession, I'm not saying just keep the ball. I'm talking about what you do with it. So how you build up, how you get past lines of the opponent, how you get through that first line of pressure, how you eliminate guys, how you make, the wingers and the strikers say, man, I don't want to chase these guys all day. And you break them. You want to do that. And when you start to do that, then you can do more and more and more in terms of controlling the match. I don't think we've seen enough patience from Atlanta United at times with the ball. And that's one of the next steps for me is being able to pick your spots of putting your foot on the gas and going and putting your foot on the ball and keeping it to work it into a better spot. I think that's the next step for this group. And maybe we'll see some elements of that and that growth tomorrow night.
What other matchups, not that you're looking at 19 matches at one time, but when you look at the rest of the schedule in Major League Soccer, what sticks out to you this weekend?
I want to see Philadelphia and Orlando. Philadelphia went to Central Florida and smacked Orlando around earlier this year. Do you see some revenge from the purple folks in that one? I want to see what Miami and LAFC look like with a massive second leg in CONCACAF looming next week. How much rotation do you see from those teams? What do they look like? Are they looking ahead? Do they get caught in that regard? Same for Vancouver and LA Galaxy for that matter. Austin and Portland is an interesting game to me. I want to see if Portland is for real, or if it's just been a couple of good games. I still don't know how to feel about Austin. I think a lot of people have talked about, what Atlanta spent and how they're looking and where it is. I think Austin has spent a lot of money as well, and it's a very different conversation about them because I haven't seen as many of the positives. They've been better defensively, than I expected, but they didn't spend their money defensively. They spent the money to score goals, and they're not scoring a lot, and they're being kind of wasteful at times in front of goals. So let's see what that ends up looking like. But also, I think when you look around the league this weekend, you have to look at San Jose and DC. And the reason why is history. It's Sunday late afternoon. It will be it's the 30th season of Major League Soccer, and on April 6th in 1996, the league started in San Jose. It was the Clash at that point. It wasn't the Earthquakes. Bruce Arena was there. He was coaching on the other sideline for DC. So that's actually really cool. I think you'll see a lot of cool elements with that. That's one that I definitely want to watch. I haven't had a chance to sit down and watch the mini documentary that came out yesterday on Apple TV. I definitely want to spend some time with that because, I remember that day I was in college at UGA, drove back home to watch the game with some of my soccer playing friends from high school because it was that big of a deal to us that now we were going to have a real big league of our own. We'd started going to Atlanta Ruckus games the season before. We had, started to have a little bit of exposure to professional soccer in this country. That day changed everything for the game in this country. So it's very cool that the league put DC and San Jose on that date. I'm glad that they acknowledged it. It's very cool. And it'll be cool to look back at it because, I'm not doing what I do. If that game doesn't happen, if this league doesn't happen, we're not hosting a World Cup next year. We're not hosting Club World Cup. We don't have Mercedes-Benz Stadium with soccer in mind, all those things. It starts from April 6, 1996, when everything kicked off and everybody said that it wasn't going to work. And, well, it's worked pretty well.
I think so. Where did you end up watching the match, by the way?
Oh, at home. Just watched it at home.
Okay.
Just had friends over and watched it at my parents' house in Stockbridge. Look, that was what we were. That summer we went to Damon's in Stockbridge and begged them to turn their satellite dishes to whatever sports channel Dallas had a game on a weekend or on a midweek. We got to know all the satellite coordinates and all the different regional sports networks that Damon's could pick up, and we'd beg them to put it on one of the big TVs and watch games. And they hated to see us coming. We gave them some of our money, so it was all good. It's been cool to see it grow. I mean, you think back to that and you always have these flashbacks of how things were, and you get thrown back into a moment. That will be one that I will definitely remember sitting and watching that game and being so excited to see teams representing U.S. cities in a stadium that was full with national team players playing, and what you dreamed that it could be, and it surpassed every single bit of it.
Yes, Damon's a place for ribs, David.
Damon's was great.
Yeah.
Damon's had it was the first gigantic sports bar-ish kind of thing. Like in Atlanta, I mean, we were on the south side of town. In Atlanta, you had Jocks and Jills at that point. But you didn't have the gigantic screens that Damon's had. I mean, I think most of them had the same kind of format. Like the one in Stockbridge had 4 giant screens, and you had a little audio box at your table, and you could pick which screen you wanted the audio from. Like that was amazing in 1996. You're like, what is this technology? This is unbelievable.
Yeah.
It was cool. Yeah, and then food was pretty good. It was pretty good.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time at the Damon's at Underground
Yeah.
doing the same exact thing.
Did they have the 4 giant screens at Underground?
Yes.
Okay.
We had the dial where you could
Yeah.
change it to wherever you wanted to, and yeah, we were hounding the folks at Damon's Underground trying to get things watched on the satellite that everybody else was looking at us like, what are you?
We're like,
weird?
here's the satellite coordinates. You're showing 2 games on different screens. Put the game on this one. What is this league? What are you talking about? Like, no, just please.
Absolutely true.
Yeah.
We got the 2s this weekend after Atlanta United and FC Dallas. It's Messi and Friends 2 coming to the Fraction on Sunday night.
Messi and Friends 2 is not coming. Messi will not be there. He is not sending his kids. He's not sending anybody from Messi land. Maybe his bodyguard can come since he's banned from games these days.
Have him on the sidelines at Kennesaw. That'd be great.
Yeah, it's not I don't know. It's not a good look when the bodyguard is doing media. Don't you normally want to be low profile in that situation?
Yeah, you kind of do.
Just saying. That seems weird. It's all seemed weird. I've kind of stayed away from that whole story because of that. But no, it's the 2s have had a couple of good results, but haven't gotten enough to show for it with 2-2 draws the last 2 times out. And there were a lot of good things in the game last time against Chattanooga. Potential to see some first-team guys again who aren't getting time. Now that you're getting more guys healthy, I think you'll see, guys like Cayman Togashi or Jamal TRA get runouts with the 2s. And then look, that means Rodrigo Neri is going to have to produce from the bench or produce in more limited minutes. And he did against Chattanooga with a couple of good goals. I thought Cooper Sanchez playing next to Will Riley, that was very good for Cooper and good step in his development. You'll get some of the academy guys back in the mix. Had a chance to see a little bit of training yesterday. Braden Dunham, who's got off to a great start this season. He was back training with the group. John O'Ransom in goal. I think we'll see him get some games a little bit this summer as you rotate guys around. But yeah, looking forward to it as always. I mean, if you're excited about the Dominic Chongqui news, you should be paying attention to the 2s because you'll see the next Doms, the next Rileys, the next Brennans. You might see Brennan in this one. You'll see those next guys coming through this Atlanta United 2 team. And I like the look so far of this team. You just want to see it come together and get some wins and get 3 points instead of 1 and going into a shootout for a second.
You mentioned Chattanooga FC.
Mm-hmm.
I can't let you go without talking about Open Cup and the magic of said Open Cup and the absolute craziness of this past go round. We now have the round 3 matchups. We talked about them at the beginning, but 12,000 showed up at Fort Finley for Chattanooga Red Wolves and Chattanooga FC. El Farolito with an upset. What did you think about round 2? It
was fun. I mean, the Chattanooga match was a lot of fun to watch. You're talking about something that we hadn't seen yet and something that one side of it has fought against from day one, and the other, I think, is just kind of doing their own thing. It's been very funny to see how people feel about it and very funny to see what's the socially acceptable way to feel about things when you talk about this matchup, which is, if you know more of the deep dive behind the scenes, maybe those things change. I don't know. Red Wolves won. Look, you can be romantic about everything as much as you want. It was a great crowd, and full credit to Chattanooga FC for that. Finley Stadium's a great place to watch a game. I've seen a ton of them there. I've seen a ton of Chattanooga FC games. I've been on the opposing side of a lot of those games, seeing Chattanooga play. This is a club that has done a lot of really special things, and they created a market that was desirable enough for somebody else to come in and want to start a team. That's a credit to Chattanooga FC. Open market and building markets to build the game. You want to see that, and the best teams are going to survive. And I think in these situations, and I think at times people run from this too much, these are the moments that take it to another level. And yes, a city like Chattanooga can support 2 teams at this level. Neither one is going to be at a first division level in terms of, and I know USL and I know promotion relegation and I know all these things. They're not going to be at a first division level of business in terms of revenue and potential loss of revenue of having another team in their city as an Atlanta United, as an LA Galaxy, as an LAFC. Chattanooga is not as big of a market. So the dollars and cents are going to look different no matter what the certificate on the wall says in terms of the level you're playing at. You can support 2 teams. And especially the way that it's set up. You've got what the Chattanooga Red Wolves have built in East Ridge, literally built it. They built the stadium. It's a great stadium to see games. We've been there. Really enjoy what they've built in a separate area of that metro. Chattanooga FC playing at Finley Stadium, a stadium built for Tennessee Chattanooga, a stadium built to host 1AA football championship games, which they've got plaques on the wall. A stadium that is a great asset to the city. I love that you have both, and I love that you had both represented on this night. You had a lot of Red Wolves fans there. You had a lot more Chattanooga FC fans there. It's one of the biggest attendances that Chattanooga FC's ever had, one of their biggest attendances they've had in a long time. And you got a great spectacle. And you got all the stuff in the shenanigans afterwards, and it's great, like that stuff's fun. It didn't get out of hand. It didn't get ridiculous. It's good that you had friction. It's good that you had fans running on the field waving flags. And I mean, you can't literally plant a flag on a turf field, by the way, like that doesn't happen. But the symbolism of it, you had fans run out there and nobody did anything. And you had Red Wolves players run out there with a flag, and everybody wants to push and shove and make their statements and do their thing and all that. And it is what it is. One team's moving on and one team's not. And frankly, like when you start to get really down to the soccer element of it, I think at times, and this is something that I really, really stress, and I get a little frustrated in the grassroots side of the game, in that we get so hung up on being trendy or being what some people say is cool, or having a great logo, or having a great t-shirt, or having a great slogan, or doing cool social media. I get it. All that part, it's an element of branding. It's very important. You got to win. You got to win games. You got to win championships. You got to win trophies. Why is Atlanta United with the expectations that they have? Because they won quickly. And now they haven't won in a while, and people are antsy. Chattanooga has had opportunities to get close to winning things. Chattanooga FC. They've had the opportunity to get close, and they haven't enough. They need to win. They're at levels where they can win. We have this conversation about Forward Madison in USL League One a lot. They do amazing stuff with their branding. The Flamingo stuff is fun. It's great. They do cool jerseys. Sometimes they're not so cool, but they do a million of them.
Yes.
They have more jerseys than wins. Like, what are we doing with that? Like, it's got to be about the soccer. And it's not about the posturing. It's not about the branding to me. That's part of it. That can get you off the ground. But you're a soccer club. The soccer has to back it up. And we go back to the beginning of the conversation. There is no reason why you shouldn't see more players being developed in these markets outside of costs and outside of resources, and that's real. But when you're building a club, you have to think about building players, building teams, and winning trophies. That's why you do this, not to sell t-shirts. You want to sell some along the way, but that can't be the priority. It can't be the we're better than you because we are whatever we say we are. We're authentic. We're this. We're that. No. Win stuff. That's what's going to determine it. And if you come in and you win this game, you get to talk for a little while. And there's a lot of talk for a lot of years about one club being inferior to the other. Well, the first time they met, the red team won. So now the blue team pick themselves up, go have a great season in MLS Next Pro, make the playoffs, make a run, try to win a trophy, develop some players. Continue planting your roots that you've been doing since 2009. And then next time you play in a game that matters against the red team from East Ridge, beat them. And then you can talk and do it. And then the red team's got to pick themselves up, and we continue. And that's the beauty of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's about the soccer. Too often in the lower divisions, we get too hung up on having a cool brand, selling a cool T-shirt, putting out a nice scarf, having a crazy jersey. Win, develop players, and grow the game. Not grow the T-shirt, grow the game. That's what I want to see more of. And Chattanooga is a prime example where they've grown the game, but at times it gets a little too hung up on posturing about what's cool and what's not cool. And it just needs to be about, you got two teams that are both at the third division level in a great soccer market that, yes, one's been there longer than the other. And you had an amazing spectacle with so many eyeballs on it from around the country. Capitalize on that. Go get better players, go build better teams, go win trophies. That's it.
Our weekend starts later today, as a matter of fact, when it comes to
it never stops,
that's
John.
True. That's
weekend is week. It's all the same at this point.
Yes.
My weekend already started. I've already been to the Bends and back.
That's true. You were there for you were doing some really cool stuff with the Premier League side. Yeah.
I met a mascot. Literally, we got pictures to shoot to prove it.
Okay.
There's a mascot. Now the SDH Network and 92.9 The Game. Good interview with Carlton Cole, West Ham legend. You're going to see some clips from that. You're going to see stories from that over the next few days. Network member Sophia Cupertino, Nick Alifi, also working with that. You'll see their handiwork throughout the weekend as well. Really cool to see West Ham coming to pay us a visit. A lot of people are coming to pay us a visit over the next few years, with a World Cup coming, with a Club World Cup coming, with Premier League Summer Series coming. Just like what Chattanooga is building and being a great soccer town in the United States. And no offense to Chattanooga, I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. Please don't do it. Atlanta's bigger. It just is.
Yeah.
But Chattanooga has shown that you can build a lot of really cool things in soccer in the Southeast. And Atlanta has done the same. Different scale, but yes. So Atlanta is going to get a lot of visits, and I think Chattanooga is going to get a lot of visits off of that too. Just like I think Dalton's going to get a lot of visits, and Gainesville is going to get a lot of visits, and Greenville is going to benefit from it. You got Ronaldinho hanging out in Greenville. I mean, come on, these things are cool. So you're going to have a lot of people coming to pay visits, and West Ham is the one today, and you're going to see a lot of West Ham stuff throughout the weekend around Atlanta, which is very, very cool. So talk to Carlton Cole, met a mascot, fun start to the day. Going to Marist, what's funny is one of the first places that soccer was ever played in this city was at the original Marist school downtown.
Yeah.
Go way back to, I believe, 1907.
Yeah.
One of the first places was at the Marist school. So they've moved their campus and we're going to the new campus. And it's a place that I played back in my career in high school. And we're going to see one of the oldest rivalries in high school soccer in Atlanta with St. Pius visiting Marist. We're doing a doubleheader tonight. You'll hear John Nelson. You'll hear Madison Cruz on the call for both of those games. I will be there contributing as well. Then we got Academy tomorrow morning. Myself and Joe Freihofer will have the U18 game as Atlanta hosts Inter Miami. And then Madison and Jarrett Smith will have the U16 game at noon. Make our way down to the Bends.
Yep.
6:30 pregame show. Abe Gordon, Madison Cruz at 6:30. You will hear myself and Mike Conti for the game, and you'll hear us with Garth Lagerway just before 7 o'clock. 92.9 The Game, Odyssey app. Full-time report, you'll hear John and Abe and who knows what else, depending on what happens. Hopefully not 7 goals unless they're all for Atlanta in this one.
Yep.
I might not have a voice if we have 7 goals. That's dangerous. And then we go to Kennesaw on Sunday for Atlanta and Miami.
Mm-hmm. It is the spring of soccer, which will turn into the summer of soccer,
It's just the nonstop of soccer. Like, it's just, forget it. We're around the corner from everywhere at all times. That's
the
just
nonstop of soccer.
The nonstop of soccer. That's the SDH network. That's soccer in this region, and it's a lot of fun, if not tiring, at the same time.
That too. Thank you, partner, and I'll catch up with you offline a little bit. We're going to have a catch up with coaches, and then I'll see you later.
Sorry, not sorry for anybody I offended with my statements today.
There you go. All right. Thank you, partner. Bye. There goes Jason. So it's a chance to wrap things up here, as we always do at the end of the week. Once again, he laid it all out for you as to what the week is and what the weekend's going to be. And I told you what it's going to be like starting next week. With Monday, we got a match, Fort Payne and Coahulla Creek. Tuesday, Drew Dickinson has West Forsyth and River Ridge, both matches up at River Ridge. Wednesday, Jason's hosting SDHAM. Tuesday, soccer's in session. We're going to have Kai Uchimura on, the head coach from Druid Hills, on the girls' side. Then coming back Thursday, it'll be our first road match of the year with Atlanta United 2 and Philadelphia Union 2. And then next Friday, we've got a high school doubleheader that we have earmarked, and we're just waiting to hear approvals on that. So that's another week of SDH. Thanks for coming by, as you always do. And since it is the end of the week when it comes to SDH, thank you, Michael Valverde, as always. You know, we gotta let it go, and we gotta let you know what's on our minds. Play it safe, everybody. We'll see you around the world this weekend. Enjoy your time. Enjoy each other. Mucha plata, y'all. Play it safe. It's the end of the show on a Friday, which means we get to do this.
The war was on. The keys on the typewriter had sharp points that kept sticking into our fingers. The dictating equipment started asking us questions, and our beepers sent electric shocks just through our body like a cattle prod. Out in the warehouse, the trucks kept banging into the docks, not even thinking about stopping. Oh, our frail bodies were strapped to the chairs, and our chairs were chained to the desks. Our pleas for justice were ignored, and the end seemed near. But we busted our slave drivers' little bitty balls. We've charged out of their brick fortress. The streets are ours be